Hello, everyone. Eric from Helps YouTube Live on Thursday, June 22nd, 2025. I'm really glad to be here. I'm from a remote location here in New Orleans, and I'm glad to have you. Helps is a national law firm that we represent seniors and disabled persons who owe debt they can't afford to pay. We don't turn anyone away. And when people learn about Helps, they find out a couple things. The most important thing they find out is that their Social Security is protected. So is their pension. So virtually any form of retirement income is protected. Even if someone were to sue you and get a judgment, it can't be taken from you. And we also educate how if you put the money in, if the money goes into your bank account, your Social Security is deposited in a bank account under a federal law in effect since 2012, twice the amount of federal benefits such as Social Security deposited in your bank account is automatically protected from garnishment, even if there's other monies in there. So if you got 1,500 in Social Security, 3,000 is protected automatically. And this is your chance to ask questions in the chat section. And then I have things that I talk about. Okay. You can always visit our webpage. You can look at our other YouTube videos. And you can always call Helps with your questions, 855-435-7787. 855 helps us or helps us. Okay. And we're here to help you. We don't want you to worry. And when you call, we'll ask you some questions, and you can call back. And if you want, you can enroll, and then you give us the creditors you owe money to or collectors. We're going to send them a letter, and they have to leave you alone, and peace will come back to your life. Now, if you happen to get sued, get us a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you. We're going to let that attorney know that your income is protected. We're going to call you and explain that to you. While you don't need to worry, we'll send you some emails with links to videos that will assure you. So you're going to be fine. We don't want you to worry. Okay? And that's what Helps is here for. So you don't need to worry. So I'm glad to have you here. And for all your kind comments. So Marion asked, she has a loan with consolidated loan. It's an unsecured, they can't take my Social Security, can they? No, I don't care who, if it's consolidated or unconsolidated, I don't care who it is. If you owe a creditor money, a lender, no, they can't take your Social Security. It's protected, okay? You don't need to worry about that. So yeah, be sure and put your questions in the chat feature, and I'll try to answer them. If I forget, you can ask them again. Okay. So Miss H says, I keep getting phone calls from numbers I never knew. I know it's debt collectors. That's what they do. Has the do not call number changed? Do you know what number it is now so I can join? Well, 855-435-7787 is our number to call Helps. Okay. Or you can look at our webpage, www.helpsishere.org. Ms. H, you're not the only one to get phone calls from numbers that you don't know where they're coming from. I get them too. It's just kind of it's part of our age. They can be blocked, but sometimes. But okay. Okay, so I got things to talk about. Let me see if I can get on the right screen here and find that. There we go. So here's someone called us from the beautiful state of Oregon. They get Social Security and SNAP benefits, which is food stamps. And they own a mobile home estimated worth about $5,000. And they're behind on their lot rental. And has a car that they have a car they can't afford. They need to surrender it. And no other assets. And they owe the IRS some money. Okay. So what are we going to tell this person? we're going to tell them a couple of things. First off, we're going to explain to them how their Social Security is protected. No one can take it. Uh, no one's going to take their mobile home. You know, if they stop paying the creditors, they can get caught up on the lot rents. We want you to do that. You need to pay your lot rental for the mobile home. Okay. Now, as far as a car that you're upside down on, you can't afford to keep anymore, you can stop making the payment. You got a couple choices. You could, if you keep it insured, you could still drive it. But if they're going to repossess the car at some point, you want to keep your personal possessions out of the car because they could take it when you least suspecting it. And you don't want to have your purse or groceries or some personal items in there. Okay. You might have a difficulty getting that stuff back. So keep your stuff out of it. Now, if you have a car and you don't need it anymore, you're not going to drive it anymore, you can just park it. And if you want, you could take the insurance off it too, as long as you're not going to drive it. If you're going to drive it, you want to make sure you keep it insured. And eventually the lender will pick it up and take it away. Now, once in a while, if a car isn't worth a whole lot, if it's, maybe broke down, it's an old car, the lender may not even bother to pick it up. Okay, what do you do then? Well, sometimes I'll tell people you just push it out on the street, and eventually the city or county is going to haul it away. You don't have any obligation to drive it back to the lender to deliver it to them. It's their responsibility to pick up the car if they're going to do that. You can always call and talk to us. Now, this person owed some IRS tax debt. Their only income is Social Security. They're probably not going to need to do anything. The worst the IRS would ever do is send you a notice saying they intend to offset 15% of Social Security. Unlikely that's going to happen if your only income is Social Security, because the IRS computer system is going to let them know that. And they're going to know that they really can't collect anything from you and that you could probably qualify for what's called currently not collectible status. But if you ever did get a notice that they intended to offset 15% of your Social Security, that won't happen for 60 days and gives you a chance to apply for currently not collectible status where you wouldn't have to pay the taxes. We go over this with people. It's one of the things we do. Understand, our major function at Helps is to protect you from collector harassment. That's the number one thing we do. Our number two thing is to educate you how you can maintain your financial independence. And that's the main reason we have these calls. Okay. These YouTube videos is so that we can talk about, these other type of things. Okay. Okay. So let's see. There's some questions here on the chat feature. Gail says, I'm having trouble surrendering my trial. Embarrassment is my issue. I know it's the right thing to do. You don't need to be embarrassed. Cars go back all the time. Okay. And how do you do it? Well, if you can't afford the car payment, you don't need to call them up. If you're current on the payment and call them up to tell them you can't afford it anymore, you're going to have a hard time getting them to answer the phone or to talk to you. What you need to do is be behind on the car payment and then wait for them to call you. Because the person who calls you when you're behind and you tell them you can't afford it, they'll know what to do. Okay? But you don't need to be embarrassed about that kind of thing. None of this stuff you need to be embarrassed about. Okay? It's life. My headset is back where I live at, and I don't have this type done to hook up with a headset. But I promise next week when I do this on Thursday, I will have it linked with this. I'll do that. So I apologize if you're going to have a hard time hearing me today. I hope you don't. Turn up your sound. Okay? In the meantime, I have people that are tech savvy that kind of help me do this kind of thing. I'm not really great at that myself, but we're going to do that. Annetta asked, I'm confused. Do the credit cards ever tell the debt collector that your Social Security is protected? No, they don't do that. And so what Annetta is saying is, if you have a credit card debt, and you don't pay it, and the credit card companies call you and you tell them you can't pay it anymore, they may eventually turn it over to a debt collector. And they don't bother, I don't think they bother to tell a debt collector that your income is Social Security. I don't think they do that. Okay. And the debt collector doesn't care. The person that calls you on the phone, they don't really care. They've got a list of probably hundreds and hundreds of names, and they just call one right after another. And they don't treat you as an individual. You're just one in a group of many. Okay. So when you enroll in HELPS, you give us the creditors you owe money to, or debt collectors. And then we send out a cease and desist letter, and under a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, they can no longer legally call or send you demand letters anymore. They have to leave you alone. And that's what HELPS does. But after we send that cease and desist letter out, it's, you may get another letter down the road from a different debt collector, because if a debt collector can't collect from you, they may turn it over to someone else. If that happens, you get that information. It helps. We send a new cease and desist letter out to that debt collector. Okay. Now you got to understand, the person that's doing the collecting, that's trying to call you on the phone, they have no authority in this. So trying to explain things to them is kind of a waste of time. Okay. So Rhonda asked, are personal injury settlements to seniors whose only income is Social Security protected? Okay, that's under state law. Okay. And I'm guessing that virtually every state, not every state, but I can't recall a state yet that doesn't protect at least a certain portion of your personal injury settlement. Okay. But what you would do is you call us on the phone and we tell you how to protect that money. No reason you're going to lose it. Okay. No reason you're going to lose it. There's different things that can be done. Okay. So if you're having a hard time hearing me, please turn your volume up. Next week, I'll be sure to have my headset on I'm speaking from a remote site today. So I apologize. Okay. Other things. This person contacts us from Georgia. Okay. Remember, we represent people in every state in the union. I don't care where you live. You can give us a call. We'll go over this. Okay. We don't represent people in court. We don't give legal advice. We provide legal information. But what we do is we represent you under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act in order to stop the collectors from bothering you. So they have to leave you alone. So this person, they say, our home is owned jointly between me and my wife. And if a debt buyer gets a judgment against me only and puts a lien on our home, what will happen to the lien when I die? So it's something we talk about regularly. I don't think I talked about this yesterday. I hope not, but it doesn't matter if you're new. This is great information. So if you own a home with your spouse, and if you own it with what's called survivorship rights, let's say the husband is 75 and the wife is 70, and you own it together, and the creditor sues and gets a judgment. Okay, a judgment could become a lien on the home. They're not going to take the home. Explain in many of our videos. I explain why that won't happen. But it could be a lien. But if the husband, let's assume that the judgment is only against the husband. But if the husband passes away before the wife, he's older than her in this scenario, then at his death, the home automatically transfers to the wife, and the judgment lien disappears. See, a judgment lien is only a lien on property that you own. It's not on a specific piece of property. They don't describe the property. It's just property that you may own. And if you die, you no longer own the property, and it transfers automatically to the wife. Therefore, she gets the property, or vice versa, free from any judgment lien. Okay? That's important to remember. Now, let's carry that thought a little bit farther. Let's say a husband and wife own the property, and then they added the children's name to the property, and they all owned it together as what's called joint tenants with survivorship rights. So they owned it with survivorship rights. So maybe dad passes away, then mom owns the property with the kids. When mom passes away, then the property automatically goes to the kids. And if there's any judgments against mom and dad, when at dad's death, then the liens will still be on mom, but when she passes away, the liens disappear and the property automatically transfers to the kids. So this person writes in, they say, I just turned 80 this year. I was working a little part-time, but have not worked all this year. I have 3 credit cards I can't pay. My Social Security is just under $1,200, and that's all I have. I'm traveling outside the U.S. and tempted to call last Friday, but with no success. Oh well, no, this is someone different, I think. Okay, so the person that turned 80, and that's all they have. They have credit card debt, 3 credit. They don't have to pay it anymore. Okay, they can't touch your Social Security. It's protected. If you're listening to me and you're having financial problems and you can't afford your debt and your income, Social Security, or pension, you can stop paying it. Okay, they can't take your money from you. And if you don't want to be bothered by your creditors, you can call Helps. And if you decide you want our help, you can enroll in Helps. We don't turn anyone away. And you'll give us the creditors you owe money to. We'll send them a cease and desist letter. They'll leave you alone. So here's another one. This person says, I'm traveling outside the U.S. and attempted to call last week, but I wasn't able to get through. I'm in debt and have been had monthly payments of $100 deducted from my checking account monthly for about 5 years, and have had no issues until I learned last week that I've been charged an additional $78 each month since November of 2024. I believe it's because I exceeded my credit limit of $28. I called Merrick because I was not able to use my credit last week. Last time I used it was in November of 24. I'm very confused because prior to last November, my credit card continued to increase. Merrick said, only way I could reconcile my account so that my normal $100 monthly payment would not warrant the additional $78 monthly charge is by paying the full $2,800 plus that I owe. Actually, I owe $2,850. Is there anything you can do to help me? Well, yeah, we're going to help you. I mean, you don't need to pay Merrick. If you got a credit card you can't afford to pay, you can stop paying it. They can't take your Social Security. It's protected. Okay? You don't need to worry about it. Okay, I'll read one more here before we get into the comments here. This person contacts us from Virginia. I have approximately $50,000 in credit card debt. I'm 70 years old and I'm on Social Security. I've been living with one of my daughters, rent-free. I'm having some problems now. He's explained some problems where he's living, and he has to move after 4 years. And he gave her a lot of money to help her buy the home. I will now have to pay rent. I'm afraid I will no longer be able to keep up my payments on my credit cards. Can you please advise us what my options are? I've considered filing bankruptcy, but my other daughter suggested I explore other options. Sure. You're 70 years old. If you're on Social Security or have a pension, VA benefits, disability income, your income is protected. You probably don't need to file bankruptcy. Now, what do I know? I'm 74 years old. I've been an attorney for 46 years, probably filed between 30 and 40,000 bankruptcies before I started Helps in in 2012. Okay. So I know whereof I speak. The vast majority of seniors have no need to file bankruptcy. A lot of them, they can't afford to file bankruptcy. They don't want to file bankruptcy. They don't need to file bankruptcy. But if they don't pay their debt, creditors can harass you, make life miserable. And that's why I started HELPS, is so that seniors would have an attorney, because there's that federal law, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act provides if you're represented by an attorney, collectors have to leave you alone. And then what we do, the magic thing about HELPS is we represent you ongoing. It's not just one time. It's literally forever. So if you ever get a new collection notice from a new debt collector, you let us know. We'll send a new cease and desist letter out to that new debt collector. If you get sued, we'll contact the attorney who sued you. Let them know that your income is protected. We're going to call you and email you and explain to you why you don't need to go to court and why you're going to be okay. The whole purpose of HELPS is if you're ever worried or scared, you can pick up the phone and you can call us, no matter how often. We don't want you to worry. Shell sent me a letter on reduced credit line and other two accounts at Citibank. You sent them a cease and desist letter. Do I need a copy of the Shell letter? Well, only if you're not going to pay it anymore and you don't want them bothering you. But if you have a Shell credit card and you pay it off every month and you want to use it, you could still keep it. See, when seniors call us, or you don't have to be a senior if you're getting protected income, about their debt, one of the things we ask you, do you have a credit card with a small balance or nothing is owed that you still want to keep? And if the answer is yes, we tell you can keep that card as long as it's not backed by a bank with whom you have another card you're not going to pay. So you can still keep, and that, if you file bankruptcy, all your credit's going to be wiped out, even if you owe nothing. The credit card companies subscribe to a service and let them know if someone filed bankruptcy, and they cut you off. But with HELPS, you have a credit card that you want to keep, you can still keep that credit card. Okay. So let's go on. Lots of things to talk about today. If I can have my fingers move slow enough on this little laptop I have. There we go. Okay, this person calls us, and this is the note we get. I need help defending myself with the debt that I dispute, and am being sued. I am retired, 91 years old, with some dementia, and need help from stopping the creditor from getting a judgment against me and putting a lien on my property. What would we tell this person? Well, it depends on what they tell us when we call them, but they're 91. If you can we don't represent people in court. If you literally don't owe the debt, you can get on lots of websites and it'll explain to you how to defend a loss. But if you do owe the debt, okay, you probably don't need to do anything. If they sue and get a judgment, yeah, it could be a lien on their house. They're not going to take your home. But let's say you're 91, you're not going to live forever, right? None of us are. If you had someone else's name on the home with you, like one of your children or all your kids, if someone got sued and got a judgment, then at your death, the home will automatically go to the kids and the judgment lien disappears. Okay. But you can defend the lawsuit if you want. You're probably not going to find anyone to assist you. That's normally legal aid doesn't do that kind of thing. But you can call and talk to us. We're glad to give you some direction. But we're not in the business to advise you how to defend a lawsuit. That's not what we do. So this person contacts us from Illinois and they say, my spouse had a heart attack a couple years ago, had to have open heart surgery and needed to retire. He was self-employed and the sole source of their income. They're now living on Social Security and unable to pay a credit card debt of about $25,000. He will be 70 in August and I am 67. Can you help us? Absolutely. So if that's your situation, if you're retired and it may be you didn't want to retire, but because of medical issues or whatever, and you lost a job or whatever, and you're now retired and you're just on Social Security, maybe a pension as well, and you have credit card debt you simply can't afford to pay, you're going to be okay. You can stop paying it, okay? And you can get on our website, you can look at our YouTube videos, you can call us on the phone. We'll go over your situation. So when you call on the phone, we're going to ask you some questions like, are you buying a home? Are you renting? You know, what state you live, what's your age, are you married? Has anyone sued you? Do you owe any taxes? Do you owe any student loans? Approximately how much in debt we ask some basic questions and we save that because some people, you know, they call us 2, 3, or 4 or 5 times before they decide to enroll. And some people call us, you know, they called us 2 years ago or a year ago, and then they tried to handle on the problem on their own. They finally realized they can't, and then they call us back. So we have all that information saved. And then if you decide you want our help, we can enroll you on the phone virtually immediately. You don't need to fill out any form, okay? All we do is we enroll people over the phone. And when you choose to become a client, when we enroll you, we click a button and we'll keep you on the phone and you're going to get sent an email that says, welcome to HELPS. And it's a fairly long email. And it's going to explain, you know, how to get us the creditors. All we need is the name, address, and account number. We don't need the balance, okay? And if all you have is the last 4 digits of the account number, that's going to be good enough, okay? And then within 24 to 48 hours, we're going to send a cease and desist letter out to that debt collector, and they're going to leave you alone, okay? And the magic helps. You can always call if you have a question or if you're worried. So I don't know if you heard when I was talking that there, the phone was ringing down the corner of my computer. I could tell it was from a debt collector from Zwicker and Associates. Ring. It means my office is pretty busy, and the phone got kicked over to me, and then it went off after a couple rings. So someone from HELPS is talking to Zwicker and Associates, which is a law firm, a debt collection law firm right now, and explaining to that Zwicker and Associates that we represent that person and not to call them anymore. So what happens is the collectors call us instead of you. That's the magic of HELPS. They have to deal with us, not you. And the other magic with HELPS is that you call us if you have a question. Anytime. Yeah, I'm behind on the questions here. So I'll try to catch up on your questions on the chat feature. Okay. Okay. So Maggie asks, I'm 73 years old on Social Security, and my only other income is from selling household items on eBay. I own my home, no mortgage. My 2020 car is financed. I have a lawsuit. Can they take my car? No, no. So I'll explain why. First, the car's financed. Okay. Second off is virtually every state has what's called exemption laws, which protect a certain amount of equity in specific types of property. So much. What is equity? That means how much the thing is worth. If you owe money on it, and um, what it's worth is it's the difference between what you owe and what it's worth. And if you owe nothing on it, then it's what it's worth. And the amount of equity you're allowed to have in a car in this varies from state to state. But let me tell you this. It is simply not the practice of consumer judgment creditors like a credit card, if they get a judgment against you, to go after your personal property like a car. Even if you had a $10,000 car that was free and clear and the exemption for a motor vehicle in your state was only $2,500, so you had $7,500 equity in the car. They're not going to go after it. Why don't they do that? It's too complicated. They just simply don't do it. Now, I've seen it happen 2 or 3 times in my entire 46 years of practice, and 2 times for some little town in Oregon, Southern Oregon. They just don't go after your car. You don't need to worry about losing your car. Okay. For a lot of different reasons. And we talk to you about this, okay? So Miss H asks, after the time limit for a debt collector to sue a person and they sell that debt to another collector, does the time start over with the new collector, or will that be illegal for them? Here's something to know. There's a statute, every state has a statute of limitations that says that they have so many years to sue you for a debt. And that could be 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. It could be 10 years in some states, but usually it's 4 to 5 years. And it's from the date when you incurred the debt or when you last made a payment on the debt. Okay. Now, does that mean that they can't call you about the debt? No, they could still try to call you about the debt. They just legally cannot sue you. So I've had people, last week, someone said they got called about a debt that they hadn't made, that they incurred 18 years ago. And they said, why are you calling about that? That was 18 years ago. They said, well, we'd just like to see if you were willing to pay it. They can't sue you, but they can still try to collect. Now, if your member of helps you get that to us, they're going to leave you alone. So it's not illegal. It's uncommon for them to call you on a debt that old. It's not that common for them to do that. Okay. So I'm glad to be here with you today and to answer your questions. And between your chat questions, I put questions that have been put to us either on our YouTube page or ask paralegals or otherwise. Okay, so this person asked, I would like to sign up for your services. Okay. But I have one question. Can I cancel when I have to? Absolutely. You can cancel at any time. Okay. If you want to cancel. I tell people that, if you're having we normally charge us a very modest fee. It could be $40 for 24 months, $20 for 24 months, free thereafter. Could be $30 for 24 months, $15 for 24 months, free thereafter, or $20 for 24 months, $10 for 24 months, or free thereafter. So, and we can modify the fee for people if they need that to happen. Okay, we don't want you to be harassed, but if you want to cancel, you can always cancel with helps. We have people occasionally cancel. A lot of times they call us back because they realize when they canceled, then the creditors, we have to send a letter out to the creditors you gave us, let them know that we no longer represent you, that we're required to do that. And then they might start calling you again. So, but no, we make it work for people. And a significant percentage of the clients we help get our help for free. We don't turn anyone away. So this person contacts us, they're having surgery soon, and they might be accruing more debt that insurance wouldn't cover. They have existing credit card and medical bills and some other personal loans. And they might want to try to keep one of their credit cards if they decide to sign up. And we went over what we do and the protections in the state where they live. They had to stop working. And they might work again in the future. And they called back and see what happened then. Well, they did have the surgery. They're recovering from the surgery. They're still interested in the program. She wanted to discuss it with her children. Told her I could talk to them either with her on the phone or call them directly with the mission. She said she'll discuss with them and get back to us. So this is a nice little thing from one of our paralegals. So, we're always willing to talk to a senior with one of the children or two of the children or whatever. Or if children want to talk about their mom and dad, we're happy to do that. Okay. And in this instance, the person called us several times. And we save the information so we don't have to start all over. So here's one that said a debt collection agency is trying to collect an alleged debt that I owe to a certain credit union that's past the statute of limitations. Yeah, so this, like I said, it's not illegal for a debt collector to call you about a debt that is past the statute of limitations and try to collect it. It's not common. It is illegal for them to sue you or to threaten to sue you if it's past the statute of limitations. Mhm. So here's another one. Another person happened to call us from the state of Oregon. I have it says a 12,000 in credit card debt. I signed up with American Finance, but I can't afford the almost $400 payment. I only have Social Security of $1,200 a month, and with rent and bills and heat, I'm unable to live. I've learned that you might be able to help me with the issue. Thank you. Yeah, can you imagine? American Finance. It's just, they're either a debt settlement or a debt management company. And when this person signed up with them, they never told them that their Social Security was protected. Instead, they enrolled them, collecting $400 a month from someone that was receiving $1,200 in Social Security, putting that person into utter poverty, making payments that they didn't need to make because they never told that person that their income was protected. That's what these debt management companies and debt settlement companies don't do. There's a few exceptions, but primarily they don't do that. Why don't they do that? If they would have told her that her income was protected, she wouldn't have enrolled with them and she wouldn't be paying them $400 a month. And then their fee structure is many times their fee structure is arranged so that they get their money up front. And so after you've been paying them for several months and you realize this isn't making sense and you quit, they've already collected a bunch of money from you because they get so much money they can afford to advertise. And in the literature they have or in their websites, it's very rare for them to ever mention the fact that your Social Security is protected. You don't need to pay the debt. They simply don't do that. Okay, which is kind of sad. But you know better now that you've been listening to me. And we always ask our clients or people to share this information with others. A lot of seniors call us, and I don't know how many times they've said, "Oh, I wish I would have known about this sooner." Okay. So this person contacts us from California and says, I need help with the cease and desist letter. I cannot pay my debt. The interest is way too high. I have signed up with a debt resolution company, Beyond Finance. Oh gosh. But these email and text calls keep coming, and I'm having what I'm having to endure is very stressful, and it's causing me so much anxiety. After watching your video with Senior Living Org on YouTube, I think it was a mistake to go with debt resolution. Yeah, it was. Yeah, if you're signed up with a debt management company or debt settlement company and you're a senior on Social Security and you were never told that your income was protected, uh, yeah, they were, that, in my opinion, it's fraud. You know, one of the definitions of fraud is withholding information from someone to their financial detriment that's in your financial benefit. And that's what these companies do. They sign persons up like this person that I just mentioned, Leon Finance. They signed them up to make payments and never told them that their income was protected. And the problem is, all day long. Uh, so here's one. I'm in my 70s and living off of Social Security. My wife and I draw very little, uh, around $3,000 a month. Not sure the exact amount. We have no retirement or 401k income. So the only income is Social Security. We pay Medicare and insurance supplement as well as house rent. I worked at the same company for a few months, less than 18 years. Due to a truck accident, I lost my job unexpectedly. I was doing fairly well financially, and unbeknownst to me, my wife had in the neighborhood of 20,000 in credit card debt, which she had paid without a problem. I applied for another job with no success. My wife is handicapped, so I had to be selective as to what I could do. Now it's to the point I need to stick close to home. So with my age and her condition, work is not really an option. I get constant phone calls over past debt. And as much as it hurts me, I just can't pay them on what we bring home. I didn't plan well for retirement. I had a 5-year plan when I lost my job. Okay, so a couple things is he lost his job, and then he mentioned something here that, unbeknownst to me, my wife had in the neighborhood of $20,000 in credit card debt. Um, what I tell him is, no, don't blame your wife. Okay. She probably was keeping that information from him. He probably turned the finances over to her, and she was trying to make things work. Uh, and it's not her fault. It's just life. It happens. Um, but he's doing the right thing. He's taking care of his wife. And what am I going to tell him? He can stop paying the $20,000 in credit card debt. And if he wants our help, he can enroll in helps. We'll send letters to those credit card companies. And if he's paying $20,000 in credit card debt, he's probably paying five to $700 a month in payments. He's not going to have to pay that anymore. He's going to have that money to use for his household expenses and for his food and medicine. Things are going to be tight, but they'll be okay. Things have a way of working out. And with helps, you can always call us with your questions. We don't want you to worry. Ever. Okay. So Kathy asks, when a member of HELPS passes, if they leave instructions for their survivor to contact HELPS, what do they need to do? Can they contact HELPS and send death? Well, they don't need to send us a death certificate. We trust if someone passes away and one of the kids calls and says, Mom, Dad passed away, we believe them. What we'll tell them, we'll talk to them and explain to them what happens. If the creditors reach out to them, to the kids, then we're going to tell the kids, if you get a statement from a credit card bill or something like that, just take a copy of the death certificate, uh, staple it to the bill, send it back to the creditor, and just say that no estate, assuming that there's no estate, that there's no money to go to anyone, which is always the case. And then you could just virtually always the case. Okay, so yeah, we'll tell kids what to do, because we represent seniors to the day they die. We have family members call us every day with a helps client that passed on. So Lester asked, can a landlord sue you for past rent? I'm retired on Social Security. You could walk down the street and look at someone cross-eyed and they could sue you in America. But it doesn't matter who sues you, Lester. Whether it's a landlord or that person that you look cross-eyed at, they can't touch you. You're on Social Security. It's protected. You could get sued by 100 different creditors. I don't care who it is. King Charles could sue you. Trump could sue you. I don't care who sues you. You're not going to have to pay. Your Social Security is safe and protected. Okay? And if you did get sued and you're a member of HELPS, you get us a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to call you and explain to you why you don't need to worry, why you're not going to need to go to court. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, let him know that your income's protected, that you're not going to go to court. We understand they're going to get a judgment. Remind the attorney of the protected nature of your bank account. We don't even need to do that because your bank will protect twice the amount of your Social Security automatically in your account from garnishment. Okay? So you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. Okay. You once spoke about some veteran benefits. What were they and how do I get information? Okay. It's called aid in attendance. Okay. And sometimes they call it veterans pension. And that throws people off. But if you served in the military for at least 90 days during time of conflict, and for a lot of seniors, that's in Vietnam, and you don't have to have actually been in Vietnam, but been during Vietnam from about 1965 to, I believe, May 15th of 1975. So if you served during that period of time for at least 90 days and you had any type of discharge other than a dishonorable discharge, then you could be entitled to this benefit. Now, there's 3 portions for this benefit. But we have an email if you and all you have to do is serve 90 days, but only one day during that time period. And you don't have to have actually been in country in Vietnam to qualify for this benefit. About 3% of seniors or their spouses, their widows, get this benefit because they don't know about it. So if you think you're within that time period, call us and we'll send you an email that tells you about that benefit. Explains how you can apply for it. So, what if I overstated my income to qualify for a credit card? Am I in trouble? No, not in trouble at all. If I was being honest about it, and I am honest, in my opinion, I would bet probably about 95% of people that apply for credit cards maybe overestimate their value of their assets or their income to some degree or another. It doesn't matter. I don't care if your income was $1,000 and you put down that your income was $10,000. No, they can sue you. I don't care what kind of judgment they were to sue you, your income's going to be protected. You do not need to worry about that one iota. Okay? Thanks, Katie. You know, we love it when you refer people to us, because you know we just talked to too many seniors that need this help. They're so thankful to find it. Um, okay, we're coming down near the end. 9 minutes for this week, and then and I'll be with you next week. Okay. There's always something to talk about. So if you're new and this sparks an interest in you and think this something could help you, call us on the phone. We got people available to talk to you right now. 855-435-7787. They're really nice, and I promise you, you'll feel a lot better after you're done talking to us. You don't know how many times I hear that all day long. I'm sure glad I talked to you. I feel so much better. I can get to, I'll be able to sleep. I was up all last night worrying, now I'll be able to sleep. We hear that all day long. Person contacts us, they say, I've been a I've been a member of HELPS for almost 7 years. I'm 76 years old. My only income is Social Security. I'm experiencing increasing health issues, making it difficult to pay some credit card and loan debt. Do I need to inform them or just not pay, and refer their collection actions to HELPS phone number? Please let me know what to do. Well, yeah, he doesn't try get it. You know, you don't need to. You can turn those into helps. You don't need to pay them whenever you could stop paying them whenever. And then we're going to send a cease and desist letter. You don't have to be behind to turn them into us. No, you don't need to pay those people. You can stop paying them. So, yeah, if you're a member of helps and you incur new debt for whatever reason, you can always add it in. Always add it in. Person contacts us and says, "Hi, I'm contacting you because I'm getting frustrating calls on a daily basis. I don't feel good, and I've burned through all my savings, and I'm embarrassed to reach out to you." You don't need to be embarrassed to reach out to us. My goodness. No, don't do that. For you know, we don't judge anyone. You know, you haven't done anything wrong. It's just life. Um, he says, however, due to my illness and medical conditions, I can no longer handle the stress of these daily calls. Yeah, call us on the phone. You know, when you enroll in helps, you give us the credits. We're going to send them a letter that the calls are going to stop. I remember when helps was brand new. That we have a video of this lady describe her life after she enrolled in help. She said it was like I was out in the ocean. It was perfectly calm and flat and peaceful. Yeah, you're not going to have to worry about these calls. And if you ever did get a call, you tell them to call helps, you hang up the phone, end of story. And you get us the information, we send them a cease and desist letter, they're going to leave you alone. So he goes on to say, he says, I even called one of my creditors, Chase Bank, to ask them to stop calling me. And their collection department started threatening me with a lawsuit if I don't make payments or arrangements with them. Yeah. You don't need to worry. Person was on Social Security disability on a very tight budget, fixed income, couldn't afford to make the payments. Okay, this person contacts us, says, I need help answering a complaint that claims to have been a successor interest in a judgment. Well, they're probably a successor interest in a claim, maybe. So I have no knowledge of the debt the plaintiff claims the judgment was entered for back in 2011. The amount of the judgment is $3,551. I'm 80 years old and I live on Social Security. I'm trying to get a judge to dismiss the case. Well, you probably don't need to do any of that. If you're only on Social Security, uh, you don't need to get involved in a lawsuit. Your income's protected. Trying to, if they, we don't get involved in trying to set aside judgments or things like that. And you couldn't really afford to hire an attorney to do that. Sometimes you may find out about a debt that you really don't owe, or there's a question about it. I mean, you could dispute it if you want, but if your income, Social Security, and a pension, if you do nothing, there's nothing they can do to collect from you. So you legitimately can choose to say, I don't know this debt, but I don't have the time to contest it or fight it. I'm not going to worry about it because they can't do anything to you. Okay. So this person contacts us from Missouri. I'm a disabled veteran. I received a summons to go to court. I would like to know what I need to do. I don't even know exactly what the bill is for. I haven't been informed or given any information. It's just a claim for $7,000. Same kind of thing. If he's getting VA disability, his income's protected, he doesn't need to worry about the debt. I mean, he could try to defend the debt and could try to dig that information out. We don't do that, but he doesn't need to do that. If it's only income, Social Security, it's protected. Doesn't matter if they get a judgment against him for $7,000 or $7 million. They're not going to be able to collect anything from you. Okay. So it looks like we're winding down near the end. See, there's some more questions here I didn't get to. Okay. Mary says, right now I pay no school taxes. If I add my son to the deed to my home with rights of survivorship of the school, taxes come back into play. You have to check with your state law on that kind of thing. It can create a problem, like in California, you've got ballot measure, 13, and if you were to add someone's name to their title to your property later on, then your property taxes could go up and it could make a big difference. So it depends on your state law. Often it won't make a difference, I will tell you that. So someone made a comment about not too many questions. I don't mind. I've got lots of things to talk about. And a lot of people look at these YouTube videos. Maybe they don't look at them live, but they look at them later. It's always nice to have the questions, but a lot of people that are new will look at it later, and because of things I talk about, a lot of times we talk about the same thing over and over again. But we've come to the end. I appreciate you participating. Please press the like button, subscribe to our channel. That will help spread the word more about these videos. People find out about helps more from these YouTube videos than any other way. So God bless. Have a good weekend. And I will talk to you Monday. And I'm anxious to do that. In the meantime, you can always call us with questions. God bless.